All right, so here we are in the middle of July, and we are coming off of like 4 or 5 days with a heat index up around 108 degrees. And so we're gonna put a little special mix on the lawn to kind of help nurse this puppy back to health. And so, like I said, we had a heat index up around 108, and now we are a high around 75 today, and then high of 70s, low 80s for the next week or so. Our color still looks pretty good, but we're gonna put a little something on the lawn, and I'm gonna show you the what and the why of why I'm doing it. And we're gonna see if we can basically hold this lawn's hand and nurse it back to health and get it thriving again just like it was. But before we do that, I have 2 things I want to talk to you guys about. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is kind of my neighbor's yard and just the difference between mowing tall versus mowing too short whenever it's really hot out. And so if you are watering properly, I mean, your cool season grass is still not going to love it whenever it's hot out, but if you're watering properly, you can get away with it. If you're not watering, this is why you need to mow tall. And so if you see here, mine is on the right, theirs is on the left, and theirs just looks absolutely fried because they're cutting too much off, and it does not look good. So the second thing I want to do here is actually give you an update to that sod that was laid down. If you watch my nut sedge video at the end, I talked about my neighbors, or they're not my neighbors yet, but somebody's building a house right down the street, and they laid sod right before we had a heat wave where the heat index was over 108 degrees. And so I'm going to show you exactly why you do not lay sod or seed in the middle of July here in Indiana. No good. Before we get into what we're spraying and why we're spraying it, I first want to say, if you are not irrigating or watering your lawn this year, if you are letting it go dormant, let it go dormant. Don't put anything down. No fertilizers, no liquids, no fungicides, nothing. If you are in a heat wave like that, don't put anything on the lawn. No fertilizers, no liquids, no fungicides, nothing. The only thing I recommend to do during that is water, if you're choosing to do so. All right, so we're gonna move on to the products we're using and why we're using them. But before we do, pro tip. I'm not a pro, but I'm still gonna give you the tip. Just the tip. This tip is professional, but it's not licensed. So whenever you first get a product, whether it be a weed control, humic acid, fertilizer, anything you get, always write the date you get it on here, because everything has a shelf life and things do go bad, or at least they become less effective. And so you don't want to basically just be spraying water on the lawn thinking you're putting a weed control or something and you're not getting end result. Another thing, I always read the label and then I write on the side the amount that I'm supposed to use per 1,000 square feet. That way I don't have to always go back and look at the label, especially the ones with the little booklets, because that's just annoying. So you can use that if you want, or don't. I don't care, whatever. So for our products, the first thing we're gonna use is humic acid. You can use any brand humic acid, I don't care. I'm not sponsored by any brand. I do have a few different brands, but I paid for this myself. And so this is Simple Lawn Solutions. You can also use something like the Next Humic 12, or you can get whatever brand you want. And so why we're using humic acid is because humic acid is good to use actually all year long, but especially during the summer when you don't want to fertilize as much. And so what this is going to do, it's going to help first loosen the soil. It's also going to help build your soil up and be able to use the nutrients that are in the soil better. So whenever you use a fertilizer, it's going to help the soil break down and use those nutrients better. It's also going to help with water retention. And at this time of year when it's this hot out and we're not getting any rain and we're watering, we want our water to go as far as possible. The second thing I'm going to be using is this Super Thrive right here, and some of you may have heard this, some of you may have not. Basically what this is a vitamin supplement for your lawn, and what that's going to do is help strengthen the roots. And in my opinion, if you have strong, deep, healthy roots, you can almost make it through any problem that you're going to face. So the last thing we're going to be using is liquid iron. And what liquid iron is going to do, it's going to help strengthen the roots, just like the Super Thrive is, which you can never have too strong of roots, but it's also going to give us a color pop. And so even though we're in the summer, I still want dark green grass. I still want the neighbors to be jealous, and I still want people to drive by and walk by and have to do a double take on our lawn. And so if you watched my video about getting your yard ready for guests, I used a granular iron from Ironite, and it did a really good job. And so that's what I want here. I want dark green grass. Even though we're in the summer, I still want to have my grass super dark green. So you could go with something like a straight liquid iron product. This is 6% iron from Lawn Star, not sponsored. Or you could go with something like this Green Effect from Green County, or the next line, and this is also a 6% iron. And so just because this says it's a 700, so 7% nitrogen, you're using 8 ounces per 1,000 of this, and it's going to give you like 0.04 pounds of nitrogen, which is nothing. Basically 6% iron with either of these, so really it doesn't matter which one you use. So I'll be doing this application today. I'll probably be doing it again in about 3 weeks, I would say, and then that will lead us into aerating and overseeding and all that we're going to be doing. Today I'm not going to be using a fertilizer, but next time I will probably use something like this 15015. So the reason I'm not using any nitrogen today is because we're coming off that heat spell, and I really don't want to stress the grass out any more than it is and try and push growth on it. It's had enough stress as it is, and so I really just want to get some of these good nutrients from the Super Thrive and the humic down in there to really help the soil out and help just kind of baby it along for the rest of the summer. All right, so that's what we're putting on the lawn and why we're putting it on the lawn. I need my PPE. Oh, long pants, long sleeves, gloves, and eye protection, so nobody can say anything about my PPE. Alright, so I have decided to use my backpack sprayer, and the reason I'm using this over the hose-in sprayer is because I decided to use the 700 Green Effect instead of just the straight liquid iron. And they say that product does not need to be mixed with anything else in the hose and sprayer, or it could clump up, but you can mix it with other products in the backpack sprayer. And so that's what I'm going to do, because I don't have time to make multiple applications right now, so this is what I'm going with. And so when I'm using my backpack sprayer, the first thing I like to do is fill it up with water. And I typically know that I will use 1 gallon per 1,000 square feet. This section that I'm about to spray is 2,000 square feet. So what I'm going to do is fill it up halfway. I'm going to put 1 gallon in it, then I'll put my products in it, and then I will fill it up with water the rest of the way to 2 gallons. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to put in there is the Super Thrive, and this is going to help with our root development and root strength. And so it says to use 1/4 teaspoon per gallon, so I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon in there. Next thing I'm going to put in is the humic acid, and we want to do 5 ounces per 1,000 square feet with this product. So you always want to make sure you give these a good shake before you use them. Alright, so you've probably seen people use those measuring pitchers to measure their product. I just use old shaker cups. If any of you are into working out, you probably know what this is. The lid cracked on it, so I just turned it into a measuring cup for all my liquid products. The good thing about products like humic acid and the Super Thrive, things that don't have fertilizer, is that you really can't fudge them up. You can't apply too much, you can't really apply not enough. So you want to follow the label, but if you do over apply, it's not a big deal. It's not going to hurt the lawn. Last but not least, we've got our 700 Green Effect, or our liquid iron. And so I know a lot of people will say you need to apply liquid iron as a foliar spray, so you spray it on the lawn and leave it so the leaves can absorb it. So typically if it's spring or fall, I would apply this separately, so it would absorb through the leaf plant because you're going to get a better color response that way. However, I'm mainly using this for the root strength, and it's also, liquid iron is also going to help with stress tolerance, so that's what I'm using this for. So I want to get it watered in and down into the root zone. Pro tip with these Next bottles: if you don't watch the Next DIY YouTube channel, instead of pouring it this way, which would make a huge mess, turn it on its side and pour it this way. All right, now we're just going to fill this up the rest of the way to our 2 gallons. All right, couple things to keep in mind here. If you are using liquid iron, it can and will stain your concrete. So if you do get it on, try to rinse it off as soon as you can. I don't really care because I need a good power washing anyway, and so I'm not too worried about it. Second thing I want to tell you, I am doing this in the evening. I would typically spray this early morning, let it sit on the grass for maybe 2 hours to soak in a little bit through the foliage, which is the grass blades. And then I would get a water again. 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch will do. But since I'm spraying this in the evening because I want the sunlight for the video, I'm probably just going to let this sit on here overnight, which right now it's 7:30. I'll probably get up at 4, honestly, and water this all in. And so that'll be fine. I am going to go ahead and do the backyard, but I'm not going to film it. So I will say, any visual results we get will probably be due to the liquid iron because that's what's going to give us a green color. The rest is just going to really help strengthen our roots and help us get through the summer, the heat, into the fall. So see you in a few days. What's up, dude?